Good morning, welcome back to Zen Odyssey. As always, thanks for being here. Really do appreciate it. So today I'm going to talk about love, and I'm going to tell you about my love aha that made a big difference in my relationship. Maybe you could even say saved it, at least it saved it inside of me. Love. So I've been spending a lot of time talking about all the negative feelings. And if you've been with me, you know that one of the big themes that I talk about is that our feelings come from our thoughts. So what we think about, whatever it is in our life, is what causes our feelings. So many of us think that it's the external things that cause our feelings, but it's actually our internal thoughts. And the same applies to love. So many of us think that love is something that happens to us, that it's something that someone else does, someone else says that makes us feel love, which is a really disempowering place to be, because you're kind of waiting for this magical external thing of love to happen to us. But what if love is something that is just like all of the other emotions that I've been talking about, that's something that comes from our thoughts? And when we learn how to manage our thoughts and think thoughts on purpose and deliberately, we can choose to generate and create and feel love internally. A number of my clients, I would feel safe even saying half of my clients, one of the big places that we spend a lot of time is talking about love. And we actually spend more time talking about the lack of love, the struggle of love, the pain of love. I have one client who is really scared to love because she's really scared of feeling hurt. And the constant place that we're going back to is like, well, where does the hurt come from? And where does the love come from? It comes from our thoughts. I have another client who has recently ended a relationship, and he is in a conflict because he believes that she's not the right one for him, and he believes that he doesn't love her, that he's not in love with her, and yet he still really desires her. And so we were kind of talking about these two different places, and the problem being that these things are happening externally, that he just desires her and that he just doesn't love her. And I was proposing to him, look, like the desire that you're feeling for her is coming from the thoughts that you're thinking. So if you want to desire her less, if this is the route that you want to go down, then watch your brain and watch every time you start thinking. Well, the easiest is to notice when you're feeling desire, and then notice, okay, well, if I don't want to feel desire for her, which thoughts am I thinking, and how can I switch my brain away from those thoughts? And then I proposed to him, I said, you could love her. You could choose to love her. And he was like, what? And I was like, well, if love is just a feeling that's created from our thoughts, you could choose to fall in love with her. You could choose to generate feelings of love for her. And where I find this really interesting is in relationships, in many years down into a relationship, like my story. And he actually asked me, he's like, well, do you have an example of this? And I said, yeah, actually I have a my example of this. And I shared with him my story about my relationship with my man. We've been together 6 years now. We met at Burning Man 2014. It's almost exactly 6 years ago this month. And the whole first year I was with him, we were totally in love, and I remember thinking over and over, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. And I really did feel that way. I thought he was just an incredible being, of course not perfect, but I had all my love goggles on and had all kinds of wonderful thoughts all the time. I didn't know it at the time, but that's where all of that love was coming from. I remember distinctly thinking this one line, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. And about a year ago, we had a 1-year-old baby, 1.5-year-old baby, and I was pretty sleep deprived. We were living on a cruise ship, and I had gotten into a pretty dark place in our relationship. I was feeling really resentful, I was feeling not appreciated, And I had started like making these requests of him, asking him like, will you, tell me you love me more? Will you show me you love me more? And I was putting this responsibility on him. I was saying, can you make me feel love? Can you do things and say things that make me feel love? And I was in a pretty dark-ish place around our relationship at this time. And I ran into this teaching from my teacher that talks about that love is a feeling that comes from our thoughts. And so I applied it to my relationship. I applied it to what was going on, and I looked at how I had felt 5 years previously and then how I had been feeling then. And I just had this massive aha, and I was like, oh my gosh, like nothing has changed. If anything, he has changed for the better. The only thing that has gone for the worse is my thoughts. And I still remember crystal clear where I was standing when I had this aha. And a funny part of this story is that one of the things that just used to really drive me nuts is that he eats the entire apple and he leaves the apple stem wherever it is that he's eating it. So at the time it was on the counter next to me where I was standing when I had this aha. And I had had this experience that every time I saw this apple stem, I had this story of like, he doesn't appreciate me, he expects me to clean up after him like his mom, and I was like, every time I saw this apple stem, I was just having this bad story in my head. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if I can just flip this story, because I don't know that he actually is saying that he's like, oh, she'll clean this up if I just put this here. It's more likely that he's just absentmindedly putting something somewhere and not really thinking about it, not intentionally doing something to me, right? So I was like, okay, what if this apple stem is a little love note from him? What if it's just him saying, I love you? And it was kind of a like laughing experiment, but it like totally stuck in my brain. I was like, so now every time I see this apple stem that he leaves around, which is actually sometimes a few times a day, it's not rare, it's really common. What if I just like make this little funny joke in my head? I'm like, oh, it's another little love note. And it changed my feelings so drastically. Didn't change anything he did, didn't change anything he said. I just changed the story in my head. And this concept really revolutionized my relationship internally. He didn't change anything. He didn't change saying I love you more. He didn't change appreciating me more. He didn't change anything. I just changed two things. I changed the stories in my head, and I also changed the expectations of him doing and saying things that would make me feel love. It's a really empowering place to be. And that's why I call it a love aha, because when we really understand that our emotions come from our thoughts, not only the stress ones, not only the sad and angry and the overwhelm and the confusion, all of these feelings come from our thoughts, but also the good ones, also the love, also the focus, also the determination, also even the peace. What is peace? Peace is a certain amount of acceptance. Anyway, that's a whole nother emotion, a whole nother talk. But this is my love aha. And I want to give you one more story just because I think it's so profound and maybe your brain is like, what? And we learn in stories. So I'm going to share one more story with you. This is like an extreme one. So there's a girl sitting in a bar and she sees this guy across the bar and she's like, wow, he looks amazing. Wow, like look at, he's like wearing this farmer shirt and he looks like he works with the land and he's like looking really like a good man. And she creates this whole story and she's telling her girlfriend next to her like how incredible this man is, and she's like starting to feel all these amazing feelings of love and desire and attraction and chemistry. And then shortly after, someone walks by, someone they know, and the person walks by and they say, wow, do you guys see that guy over at the bar? And the girl's like, yeah, I see that guy. Of course I see that guy. I've been looking at him. Yeah, did you know that he molests kids? And suddenly, in an instant, this girl who had built this whole story and was feeling so attracted and really liking this guy instantly, with just that one line, her whole feeling and her whole attraction to this guy instantly shifts, because it's all what we're thinking in our head. And the guy didn't change. The guy's still sitting at the bar, there at the bar. She's never talked to him. Nothing ever happened. But the two different stories that she had in her head drastically affected the way that she felt and the way she was attracted to this guy. So I hope that story helps drill it home of just how our feelings are created from our thoughts. I love this stuff. I really, really love this stuff. I am working on this class, and I'm obviously still talking more about this, and I'm talking all about it with food. How we so often love food that's not good for us, and we think that we just love this food, but we love this food because of the way we think about this food. So it applies to all aspects of our life, including the food that we love. So yeah, till next week, I always thank you and have a great day.